This is a test video. I've got something to show in the Bible in Genesis, a numbering system that nobody finds this. It's not in public anywhere, but it's very complicated. It's hard to see, and I don't know how to show it. I'm going to talk through it a little bit here, but what I want to say is that it's not super fast to see it. You have to kind of let things unfold. It's very big. You have to kind of grow your mind into it. They spent a lot of time with this. We have to spend some time with it ourselves. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. Please, throw any comments or questions below with what I'm going to be doing. Now, everybody, I am not a Christian. What I am doing is approaching this just very philosophically and academically. I'm reading the Bible not as a theist or an atheist, but as somebody who understands that there's something in here that I recognize patterns that I would find in Greek myth and Hinduism, other places. And I want to know what those patterns are. So I'm studying that. And I'm finding what the patterns are for. There's some templates in there, but there are some things going on in the Bible that make it excruciatingly difficult to navigate, to see the template. They've got it in there, but it's buried deep. The numbering system is mind-boggling. So let me talk about that a little bit. As you go through Genesis, for me anyway, something that I noticed was it seemed like there's a lot of repeating numbers in there. They're random, certainly, and as you read through linearly, it doesn't get your attention that much, but I kept looking at it enough that I thought, boy, there's just 7, 40, 20, 30s, things that are, it seems like they're random in there, but if you look at them long enough, you go, they're placed randomly, but there's only so many numbers that are constantly being used. There's a smaller pool of numbers. They're not random. There's too many repeats going on. So how do you analyze that? They had them memorized, we don't. So what I have to do is go to the computer and start looking at things. And let me show you what I did and what emerges. Okay, I can assure you I have been working at this for a long time now. I don't have it dialed in, but I can see what's there and I'm growing with it. Okay, here are numbers. You can see that I've taken where that top line says 130. And then the next one, 800 years, and then 930, and then 105. Those all come from where Adam's lineage is. And what I did is I took all of those numbers and eventually decided that I'm not going to call them compound numbers, that's not 130, that is a 100, and that is a 30. And that each number, if it's treated like that, we're going to see something else emerge. All right, I don't know if I should say this to begin with. I just show some numbers, but there's a 7 and a 3 grid that is beginning, that it starts in creation. On day 7, when it is said 3 times right there, that begins something that is parallel to Eden, naked, unashamed in the garden. That if that is on a human life template, then that represents a time in our life when we were children that had not yet been exposed to the pain of life. We were happy and carefree. And then we went on to experience life. So the 7 and the 3 and the Eden are going to be representing that point. If that's not okay with you, that's all right. That's what I am chasing. That's what it originates from for me. That's where the pattern begins and how you hook the template all together. Okay, let's go back and look at those numbers. I'm going to contend that there's only so many numbers being used. They've spread them around in here randomly. They're repeating them a certain amount of times. And as far as this being a puzzle to work through, that's exactly how we figure it out. There are so many repeats in here, not just numbers, but names as well. If you look through, you'll start seeing patterns in here, and those patterns mean something. But you don't see them if you don't have it memorized. They're not at all possible to see if you don't have it memorized or you're not using a computer. Okay. Yeah, it's invisible. Okay, I'm going to go back to my collection. What I've been doing is going through the Bible and continually collecting that. And in this, what I call an analog farm, these dates right here, that's what this amounts to be. They are using these numbers to create more. Where the 7 and the 3 were created for Eden, they're creating more numbers for that same location. And it's for sin would be day 8. They're creating analogs for that too. They're creating a numbering system that is going to parallel a human life template. It makes it kind of disappear. Now, what I've got, there's 20 different discrete numbers that are in this whole pile up here. Out of all those numbers right there, when you get done, there's only 20 different numbers that are discrete. And if you look at them, you will see that 30 was said 7 times. 30 now becomes an analog. 800 was said 7 times, and 900 was said 7 times. But what's happening with these two right here? Let's go up and look at it, 800. 800 up here is where it starts, and then we've got an 800 and a 7. So 800 is tied to 7 right there. We've got an 800 and a 15. 15 now becomes an analog. 800 and a 40. 40 becomes an analog. 800 and a 30. 30 becomes an analog. Do those 40, 10, 30, do those sound familiar from Sodom? How many? We're going to get there. That's a part of the farm too. They're going to be repeating the numbers there as well. Okay, we get down here to the bottom. We've got all the numbers done. Yeah, okay, so what we have is 30 was said 7 times. 800 was said 7 times. 900 was said 7 times. 100 is said 5 times. Remember, 5 was created up there. 5 is said 5 times. 60 is said 5 times. It continues on down here. I don't have to read through all of those. I've done the same thing here. This is the analog farm right after the Babel story. So I've done the same thing with it. I collect all the numbers, put them down here, and what we see is these are all said 1 time. These are all said twice. 400 is said 3 times. 200 is said 4 times. 30 is said 7 times. We'll get down here to the Sodom analog farm. We're going to find that righteous is said 7 times. Righteous becomes an analog. Abraham is said 5 times in this farm. Abraham is an analog. But what do we have? 50 is said 4 times. 5 is said 3 times. 5 is one of our analogs. Here we got our 40, 30, 20s again. 10, they're all different numbers. Okay, so basically what we're doing then is using numbering systems to point to other numbers. I want to take that 7 and that 3 and make another number, but not make it too obvious. So I don't want to just say 7, you hook the 7 and the 3 to something, and that's all they're doing. They're growing numbers together that way. Or by saying 7 3 times, they made both of those the same point. 3 is also cause and effect, though. It's deeper. I'll just stick with the numbering grid here. So there's things that are being carried in the numbering system that would replicate the pattern if the template, if the numbering system wasn't there. You know, I could go through and collect all those analogs. I've done all the work here, but you go through it on your own, and it's a very slow and methodical process. So I'm showing you the final work. It takes a long time to get through all of this and to reason out what they're doing. And when you finally find consistency in what they're doing and what you're doing, you go, okay, that's it. And you would have to have it memorized. You can see that you would not be able to see this unless you had it memorized. But back then, they exactly did. Today, we lost it. And I am on it now only by using the computer and, recognizing that there is something that's kind of minimal in the background, that there is, as big as it is, that there's something in there that's too repetitive. When you recognize that and then you start looking for it, it does emerge. If you seek, you find. Okay, let's look at the pile of numbers, just a small pile of them, and then go look at a couple of other things. This is how it layers even deeper. Okay, my apologies here. This is a working slide, an older one. I'll update it before I get onto the next video, but this is a collection of analogs. The 3 and the 7 you can see right there in the beginning is where it started, but this is not even the entire collection. This is just a small amount that I'm going to look through. And this probably sounds a little thick to begin with, isn't it? The term analog, I'm using that just as all of these numbers and things are going to end up, that names are going to end up representing the exact same place in a human life on a template. They're analogous terms that are representing something very specific. But instead of repeating that, making that template sound like it's repeating over and over again, they're diversifying the heck out of the way it sounds by doing this right here. Okay, so if this holds up then, let's play around with a few things. I'm going to say that Adam and Eve here is us in the beginning, day 7, Eden, in the garden. 3 is there too. 3, 7, Eden, all could represent that same point, a starting point. 3 and a 7, male and female, conscious and subconscious. If you went to the book of Job, it's going to start right off with, he has 3 daughters and 7 sons. 3, and 7, male, female, right here. This is where that starts. You see how the numbers are holding the clues. If I go down to Abram and Sarai, Sarai is going to be the female. If we're on a monomyth, Sarai is going to be our inner self when that starts. Sarai, let's take a look here. Sarai shows up 17 times in the entire document. Let's take a look. Oh, yep, there we go. 17 is one of our numbers. I'm just going to keep grabbing random names and words here. How about east? We had to go east of Eden. Oops, we got beast in there. We've got to make sure we get rid of that. East, 17. Just like Sarai. That's on the list. All right, clean. Clean is 7 times. Okay, so all of those we get our appear state, right? Right there at the words kind of sound like it, and if they are words, if they're using words as analogs, then it's also going to sound somewhat like that. Okay, if you're with me so far, there's more to showing how those numbers are actually pointing. I really glazed over that. I realized that. I'm getting to the point though where they're all continually replicating and pointing to numbers by just repeating the numbers and names a certain amount of times, and that they're going to continually at the 17, the 3, all of those numbers, the righteous covenant, all of that represent this point in the human life. They're all analogs that are just piling up right here that are going to come back to this day 7. What happens if we move on past day 7? Reading through Genesis, I find wicked. Wicked shows up 8 times. Wow, that's right after pure. Wicked. That is like first sin. Could it be? Let's keep looking to see if that was an accident or not. What else can we find here? 8 times. Well. Okay, what about, let me see, grab another one here. Oh, I know a good one. Circumcise. Circumcise happens on day 8, doesn't it? Circumcision. For Jewish boys, circumcise. Well, 18. 18 is what? 1 past 17. So now they're using another number. 18 would be like 8. It's shifting off of the pure state list by the next step. It's just sequencing that way. And then it's using words that sound like that as well, and repeating those words the amount of times that puts them on that step. It gets really thick. I don't know if I'm doing a good job here. But watch. All right, let's grab Sodom. We know Sodom is a place that needs to be destroyed, right? And if I go pull up how many times Sodom appears, it's 21 times. 20 was one of our analogs of a good place to be, and 21 is the next step. It's everywhere. In the book of Genesis, the word flood is said exactly 12 times. 12 is a good place. We want to flood out our inner experience. The world that is destroyed is our racked self, our own, I need to turn in and heal. So flood is a good thing right there, and we see that it's on the list. What else might we have? Righteous is said 12 times, so we have both. So you have to get used to the idea that the code is held in the numbers. Lamech. Lamech is repeated 10 times. What that means is Lamech is a good thing. But Lamech has a wife. Let's see. He's got 2 of them. Ada and Zillah. Ada is said 8 times. That is 1 over 7, so that's bad. Zillah? Three times, so that's good. So there's going to be, you have 2 selves that are going to be taking over, or that you have, and it's going to be split, 1 good, 1 bad. But it's being held in the numbers. You have to know how many times those names are repeated. Then you could follow what's going on. But it's thick. Do you see that? So it's not just the numbers. They've got that blended with male, female, other analogous verbiage that exists in their local culture as in a patriarchal society that now exists and translates directly into the mind in a hierarchy, in the same kind of a hierarchy. I can tell you if you can see it. I mean, a lot of people can see repeating numbers but not know what it's about. I know that if I start trying to show this to my wife, as I'm finding it, I'm like, oh, come here, look at this, how exciting this is. And she's like just glazing over, like, I don't get what you're even talking about. So I know that it's not something that just, bam, you just look at it and see it. You have to, there's a lot of parts to it that is very, very, very much a mental process that you have to live through. They were living through it. We are not. We're standing back, worshiping it from a distance or denying it or something, not knowing there's something in there. Okay, I should probably let that be it for now. I've done other videos showing how, honestly, that you can keep going through the other books of the Bible, download them, do searches for the words, and you'll find that same numbering pattern throughout Abrahamic material. It doesn't stop. It's the framework that was put in place by whoever. Genesis in the beginning didn't have it in there. It got added in later. But then it was maintained all throughout the Old Testament. And then if you go to the New Testament, the Romans maintained it. It's there. Okay. And, you just have to go look on your own. If you want to do this, ask me some questions. There's some gotchas on the Bibles. There's a lot of different ones you can download, and there's people that have got variations in there and wording differences that make it difficult to search. That's why I search with one specific one that I don't like reading, but I like searching with it because it has everything kind of left intact the way it should have been. It's the oldest one and the hardest one to read, but it's the most accurate for what I'm doing. Something else, in that older version, it would say things like 930. If I go to, which sounds like, is that 930? If you go to the NRSV, it'll say something like, Seth had lived 105 years, not 105 years. So the and was breaking up every one of them in the old version, and they're not in the newer one. So here it reads like a compound number. There it almost reads like, wow, is that one number or is that two? There's things in older translations that might help you search better. Downstream versions, people are changing things. Or they might take God and Lord and mix them up a little bit. And it's like, you don't do that. You leave everything like it's supposed to be to begin with. As I'm doing other interpretations and trying to interpret the monomyth itself, then I use NRSV. I use something with a little more modern verbiage, something where it's not critical to have the numbering system observed. Yeah, there's a template, there's a basic template in here. And the numbering grid and all of that, it continually repeats that basic template. It's my contention. You have to get to a point where you see it up here. It's an inner path, not an outer one. And it's all built on analogous verbiage that exists in a mental hierarchy, but it was written 3,500 years ago or older. It's hard for us to get there. You have to think it through. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this video. I don't know if it's, I don't know how to approach this one. It's big. Each one of these, where you create the numbers, it's an easy math formula to see each one of them. It's really simple. It is all held in here, but the mystery comes in not having it up here. Think of your hobbies and what you know about it and all the things that are involved in the types of this and that and sizes and various that we know because we do it. We have it memorized. We don't have this memorized. They did. They can do with this what we can still do, but we're not doing it with the Bible. We're not using our brain power, the same kind of brain power in the Bible the same way. And it's simply a case of memorization. You can see that. If it's not memorized, you will not know. We are so dismissed from this. We don't realize it. It's right there in our hands the whole time. This is opening the ark. There's something in there. Metaphorically, I mean, this is all theory, isn't it? I can sit here and say that, but at the same time, what I'm doing is demonstrating. Here, you look, you go see it. Don't take my word for it. This is what I found. Look, yeah, it's there. Count them out. What's going on? Think it through. And something comes online that becomes, quite honestly, universal for humanity. All right. Hope the video was interesting. Let me know your thoughts. What can I do to fix, these videos? How can I get this out? What can I explain better? And I'm learning as I go too. There's stuff about here I don't know. I see sequencing things going on that I don't know what they're doing. Not yet anyway. All right. See you in the next video.